Led by Light is a short film I wrote and directed in 2019. It was also originally released in 2019, but I only put it up on YouTube in 2020. It was, and at the time of writing, still is my biggest project released. It was a very ambitious project for me at the time, and probably the short I am the most proud of on my channel right now. Hopefully that'll change with my future projects. But it still has its fair bit of goofs. I want to stress again that I am not speaking ill of anyone who worked on it. I think the whole team was absolutely fantastic and honestly elevated my output. But anyway, here we go. Pretty modern looking locking mechanism there. A wire running down the left side of the window. Again, this is supposed to be the late 1800s. A radiator in the back. More wire next to the window. A modern IKEA blanket covering up the greater evil of a bunch of electrical equipment mounted to the wall. The stick holding that door is now in front of the fireplace. A radiator in the back. A radiator in the back.
Minäkin tunnen sen.
Velvet light reflected on her glasses. A radiator in the back. Center frame. A radiator in the... yeah, you know.
Se oli yksi niistä.
A flag in front of the radiator in the back. Broken candles barely holding together from already being flipped over once or twice. Camera crew makes a cameo. The table we explicitly showed was flipped over is back in its regular position. Even worse, a candle needed to be masked out that we put on the table. I'm not gonna point out the multiple radiators anymore. All of this reflected on her glasses. Pre-walked path for them to follow. I think this film is the counterbalance to the one before, Seance. I already made a video about it, but to recap that quickly, that film was so simple, small, and made in such a foolproof way that there was almost no way these kind of goofs would happen. Just two people using very simple ways to shoot an extremely stationary scene. But for the first time, I was working with a whole crew of full lighting units, sound units, camera units, and everything on this one. There were like 12 crew members on set, on top of the 2 cast members. That's quite a big crew, especially for me, as my projects had so far consisted of crews of 2 to 5 people or so. I had been on bigger sets on friends' projects and others through school, but being the director on such a big film was quite daunting. Thanks to this also being a school project for a bigger course, for the first time we got a real sizable crew together. Not to mention the film is 12 minutes long, has multiple scenes, multiple setups, and technically multiple locations, even if most of it takes place inside one house. When your film starts having more stuff in it, more stuff can go wrong. As I mentioned in my Everything Wrong with the Back video, I don't think most of these goofs are really problems. I'm still proud of this film, and I think a lot of it went very well. There are things I would do differently, were I to do it again, and I'd say I would probably rewrite stuff too. I also can see some of my missteps the further we get from its release. But thanks to a good team, solid pre-production, and talented editors, mixed with a pretty good vision of how I wanted this to be made, the results are something I can really be proud of. I think to a lot of people watching the short, it's obvious what it's inspired by, which is mostly M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, a movie that is, despite everything you've heard, very good actually. My vision and our goal was to make a cinematic period piece that looks bigger and more expensive than it really is. We had some pretty involved camera work, a couple of longer takes, and what was difficult but turned out to be very impressive lighting. The visual aspects of the film are the ones that I still like most about it. Also, Juho made a banger soundtrack for it. On top of that, it was a very difficult thing for me to write. I hadn't written anything this long. Most of my films so far were horror, and aside from The Case, my films didn't have any dialogue. Not only did I need to learn how to write dialogue, but I also chose a romance to be in the center of the film. I think it turned out well, if not quite cheesy. I wanted a little cheese,
but I may have gone too far in a few places.
The dialogue is probably the biggest thing I would go back on. I think it works for the most part, but there are some parts that are maybe too much and quite hard to deliver believably. That's not a slight on the actors, just my writing. But all those wires and radiators, yeah, turns out making a period piece is very hard, even in a period accurate location. The film was shot at the Lapland Forestry Museum in Rovaniemi, and it really is a beautiful location, and really what made the film even possible to happen in the capacity that it did. But there is the reality that the place is outfitted with electricity and heating. Obviously. We did our best to shoot around a lot of that stuff, but there is a point where you have to decide whether a good shot with a radiator in it is preferable to a worse one without a radiator. The answer is obviously the good shot, especially seeing as it was inevitable that a radiator would be in a shot since they were everywhere. The good news about that is, it turns out you can get away with a lot. Led by Lad was screened in Biorex, on a real silver screen, as a part of a showing of all kinds of shorts and music videos that students at the university had made. I didn't get a single mention from people about all the crap that was in some of our shots. Maybe they were being nice, but I think someone would have mentioned it at some point. If people are into the story you're telling, I don't think many will notice. One other example of things you can get away with is this establishing shot. When outside we only show this side of the building, and it's the back side, not even the front door or anything. Even when we go out towards the end of the film, it's only this side, only a close-up of the front door. And while the story justification is that the lantern is there, we put the lantern there for a reason. If we shot this house from any other angle, there would have been a bunch of wires and electricals visible everywhere, not to mention plowed paths with tire marks on them. This was our only available angle, and it's the back of the house. But nobody has questioned it, and I think a lot of that has to do with A, it's a nice shot, and B, the lantern is placed in a way that it makes the shot seem very intentional. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned from this. You can get away with a lot. If you tell your audience things are a certain way, they will believe it. You can mess with a lot of things behind the scenes, but only you and your crew will know about them, as long as you don't tell everyone else how you messed with those things. So, under no circumstances should you make, say, a YouTube video explaining how you got away with things you perhaps shouldn't have. Oh shit.